Hello and welcome to another vlog video diary garden walk. We're going to be mostly seeing, I suppose, Erythroniums. It's really Erythronium time, but there are the rhododendrons in the garden as well. So this is one nice rhododendron, and it's, I don't know if you can hear the bees, but it's just buzzing with bees. They're working very hard there. So the sun's out again after a couple of grey misty days, but it's cool. We're getting a very cool wind off the sea, so it's barely into double figures, but most of the Erythroniums are quite happy with that. They open, they don't like it too hot. So this is a bed we've looked at a few times earlier when the Aranthus were out and the different plants. Now we've got the anemone ranunculoides and Erythroniums. The white Erythroniums over there, they're a hybrid mini haha. Down here the pinks are just straight revolutums that seed around. It's the best seeder in the garden. If you want to get one that seeds around, then revolutum's probably as good a one as any. If I come around here, this is a seedling off of Erythronium californicum. Not dissimilar to the cultivar of white beauty that goes around. This is a self-sown seedling off of mini haha, which comes quite close to the real thing of mini haha. This is a group of mini haha here. But they work really well. You can see the coriodalis starting to go over. But it's as I say, it's revolutum that's the most successful seeder in our garden anyway. So that you get all these shades of pink. And because we've got californicum white beauty, and we've also got Oregonum itself, looking there, can I see this screen there? Those taller white ones, that's Erythronium Oregonum, which is one of the parents, along with a white beauty of mini haha. But you can see, if you look at this, is the path. This little gravel area is the path, and you can see how they seed around out into the path and escaping from this bed. But this entire planting here has been formed by just seedlings coming from a single plant, and they're actually well escaping out of the path. So we turn round, and you'll get different colour forms, of course, from seeds. So you get dark ones with dark stems, very pale ones with pale stems. Just look to see if it is a hybrid. Oh, this is a hybrid. You can tell clearly the filaments are different. The markings are different, the pollen's different. And if you look, there's your typical Erythronium revolutum flower, if I can just see on this little screen. I'm always juggling, trying to see what I'm looking at directly, and then having to see on the screen what I'm showing you. It's not easy, because it's a very little screen, and in some lights it's difficult to see. But there's lots of other plants which we'll look at another time, but I just want to kind of give you the flavour of the mass Erythroniums. This is a hybrid revolutum, really nice dark one. Self-seeding, because as I say, we get lots of seedlings around and lots of hybrids. This is a nice one. It's been out a wee while. It's got nice dark flowers. The leaves are superb, very dark when they come out. And this is our own one. This is Erythronium Craigton Cover Girl, which was the first one we released and named, and it's around quite a lot now. But if I spin round here, there's more cover girls across there in that bed. And as we come round the path, they're everywhere. As I say, all these are self-seeded. None of these were planted. And really it's a case of going around spending time turning them over and looking into the flower. And here's a pale one with paler pollen. And then you come round here, there's some very dark ones. Again with the anemones spilling out, this is an anemone grossimani. And what over here, I think this is going to be an Oregonum. Oh, it could be a hybrid, Erythronium Oregonum. Sometimes it's very difficult to tell for sure if it's the true or the hybrid, because the Oregonum seeds around as well. So as you can see, the paving slabs should be surrounded by gravel and not plants, but the plants don't agree with that. In fact, the gravel's the best place where they seed. We've got areas of Trillium grandiflorum, runs up in there, and it runs right up into the back of the bushes in there. So plenty Trillium grandiflorum. It enjoys the garden as well. The bees up here again on this, another rhododendron. I'm under another rhododendron here, and the bees are up among it. But if I step over the path, you'll see other Trilliums under these big rhododendrons. Very little grew for a long time because it was very dense and you couldn't see the ground because the rhododendrons covered it. But just in recent years it's become a bit more open under there, and I've allowed various things to run, but now I've opened it up and I see it. I'm going to extend plantings under here, so I've made a start here. This is some Erythronium Suzani and some different dicentras, mostly cucularia or canadensis. The Erythroniums will be encouraged to come in, but gradually I'll get this. All this ground now is a new opportunity to plant up some of the many plants we've got. Down here there's Trillium seed around as well, so we've got Trillium, possibly Kurubiashi, and there's the wee Erythronium Americanum, the yellow one, which we'll look at some more in a minute. We come round to this bed. Very difficult to walk looking at this camera without stepping all over Erythroniums. So here we have Erythronium grandiflorum, one of the yellows, plain green leaves, lovely yellow flowers. This one's the grandiflorum with the brown pollen. And then we've got Vorm chrysandrum, has got yellow pollen. And there's one called albidum, which has got a pink pollen. Well, I think I've just pushed the zoom accidentally. But I'm loving the way the Erythroniums are seeding into the wall, like a crevice plant. And as I step round here, you'll see how they're all down, all round the path. Just over the years they've built up in numbers. But look along the wall there, that's the face of a wall, and all those ones cascading down the front. I can see the leaves there of the Erythronium densicanus have gone over now for all the flowers, but so it's mostly revolutums and others flowering. Oh, and just down here I'm finding some of the a bit chewed, but Erythronium japonicums, they poke up through. Round here in one of the more recent plantings we've got again pale revolutums. Trillium albidum there, and the taller white are all seedlings off of mini haha. In the back there's more Trillium grandiflorum and other Trilliums going right into the shaded area. But as I walk here on the path, look at the density of the seedlings. So we've got down here tiny with the seed capsule on the top, the seed germinating from last year, and then you've got every range of seedlings coming up through the various years of growth to full flowering, which when they're allowed to naturalise in the garden, you can get a few flowers in year 3, but it's more likely year 4 or 5. And this is one of the more recent plantings. I'm still building this planting, still working on it. So I keep adding, and it's like doing a painting. You paint a bit and stand back and watch, and then you see what it needs, what you can add, and you add a bit and do a bit. So I'm still working on this area. Still definitely want to push it right into the shade. So I've got various ideas of how that planting can go right in under the shade. But if I just do use the zoom intentionally here, you can zoom in more Erythroniums there, growing up through the ground covers. And if I come round we can see more Trilliums there, Trillium Rivale, pseudo Trillium Rivale if you must. And again those Trilliums that possibly Corybiaceae, could be Chloropetallum, or even more likely the garden hybrids. Rhododendron Cephalanthum, and here part of my crevice planting with Trilliums and Erythroniums again, growing as crevice plants. And round here is my Trillium Rivale Cascade that I've been developing and encouraging to grow. So all around here I've encouraged seedlings to come down, and some of them are really nicely established now, already with second generation seeds developing from the first ones that I planted in the crevice. So we just come round, it's great fun. So we have them popping out everywhere. And this was an intentional planting that was inspired by a scene I saw in Oregon. It takes time to build these up, and this is not instant gardening, this is slow gardening. It takes many years. And the longer you go on, you realise gardening's about patience. Don't rush for things. You can't get an instant garden. To get a garden like this, it takes time and patience and allowing plants to seed. Some things do well and some things will die out and you need to replace them. And so it's always evolving, it's never static. Around here I can see some, I can come round, Trillium Hibbersoni, and there's some more here. Oh, what I didn't show you over there, which I meant to, was on that bed down there. I can use the zoom here, and was down there Erythronium Americanum, all over it, masses of it. That's the proliferating one. But it's, again, I talked about patience. You plant it and you leave it and be patient, because eventually it'll start to flower. You'll still get lots of leaves as it proliferates, but you will get flowers. You can see more on the top there, growing alongside the Narcissus cyclaminius and others. Sadly, it's not warm enough for them to open. It's one of the Erythroniums that needs a good deal of heat. Well, a good deal of heat for Aberdeen weather. So it needs to be up to above 12 degrees and in sunshine for them to open. They were open the other day, but I didn't get out my camera then. So it's too cool for them to open today. So that's the proliferating form of Erythronium Americanum. And you can just see down there how many. Up here we have one of our own forms that we raised from seed, and we named it Creighton Flower because this one actually is less prolific in spreading and forms little clumps of flowering plants, so you get more flowers. So it's much more free flowering. It does send out runners and leaves, you can see some there, but not so prolifically. That's the advanced party, and then they will gradually become, this is the mature party, it's the mature to flower. And I just love when we get little moments when the plants push themselves out from between the rocks. That's really such a pleasure to me. Come round, we've got some, there's a few of the Erythronium Suzani complex hanging on. Up there, pink Erythronium revolutums, Jeffersonia, dubia, and there's Diphylla with the flowers on it there. But a really beautiful plant. It just enjoys exactly the same conditions, cool, moist conditions that the Erythroniums do. Rhododendron dendrocharis, looking good. And round here in this bed we've got more Trillium Rivale and Trillium Hibbersoni. So there's Hibbersoni there, one with 4 petals, which is quite common with Hibbersoni, and then various different forms of Trillium Rivale. They're just groups of seedlings planted out, and then they in turn are self-seeding around. And this is what we call the new bed by the pond I'm at here. So but there's some Trillium Rivale's larger seedlings that are almost pure white. Very little sign of pink at all. And then you get other ones that are very pink. And here's another little clump of Trillium Hibbersoni. Here we've got more from Erythronium Suzani complex. Some of the earlier ones flowered earlier, and these are coming later. That taller Erythronium is Erythronium, that's our Dovey Bliss. Not one of mine, was one I was given, raised by somebody else, but it's a Hendersonii hybrid, and it's settling in quite well. But this is a bed that's been giving and giving and giving flowers for quite some time, like all of the garden, and it will continue to give. But I just love the garden where we can get little moments and you can see through to lower areas. We can spin up. This area is not quite at its most floriferous yet, there's a lot more flowers to come, but it's just starting to come. Lots of Erythronium revolutums, californicums, there's tuluminenses and different forms there. So we'll just keep walking down. So again, it's very typical, it's revolutum that's seeding out into the paths mostly. And then groups of Californicum and the white ones, and where you've got them both, as I say, you will get hybrids, and those hybrids will throw all sorts. You see one here, this is Erythronium Joanna. It's a revolutum cross tuluminense, but pure yellow inside, really nice golden yellow inside, and it's got this pink fusion from its revolutum parent on the outside. Works well, it's a good garden plant. But other areas, so we've got more Trilliums here, which I think we'll look at another time. Epimediums, small Erythroniums, and taller ones growing through the taller plants. There's a lovely dandelion growing through that trillium there. I don't mind the odd dandelions as long as I don't let them seed. There we go, another Trillium albidum, Trillium grandiflorum. Round here, you like the pink grandiflorums, these are the Gothenburg pink. So Trillium, really dark pink. And I just wanted to wander up and finish shortly. This is Erythronium Suzani, one of the best yellow hybrids, a bit chewed and battered. One of its parents in there, Erythronium tuluminense. I see podophyllums of all kinds coming up in here, and more Joanna coming up through a sea of foliage of Dicentra. Different Dicentra cucularia, Dicentra eximia, Dicentra formosa, intermediate hybrids. And the taller Erythroniums grow through this taller ground cover. Because we're just about to come down and finish soon. So we've got more, here's Erythronium grandiflorums. Some very typically come up in this tubular form, and then the tube of the leaves breaks open. It's quite interesting actually, because it comes up like that, and as the leaves break open you can see at the tip of the leaves there's this very hard, folded over and hardened bit to push through hard ground, and then once it gets through it opens up to reveal its flowers, so that they're very well adapted to their environment that they grew in, so which is why they settle in our garden so well. But just everywhere there are Erythroniums. And maybe this is where I should end and leave some to look at for another time. But the big bed with Erythronium creating cover girl there in the foreground. Other hybrids we've raised along with species. So it's a wonderful time of year. It's not the only thing in the garden at the moment, as you can see. There's lots else, but everywhere I look I see Erythroniums. Up in sky the leaves are coming out on the acers, and the canopy will soon come in. The atmosphere in the garden will change. The spring flowering bulbs will go down, and we'll have a whole new range of plants, a whole new sequence to come. So thanks for being with me. If you've stuck with me all this time, thank you. I've enjoyed your company. I hope you enjoyed the Erythroniums. I'll see you next time. Bye.